So I'm sure you realize by now that most fat loss advice out there is complete BS. It promises a lot but really fails to deliver. And even if it does work, it only works in the short term because the results are not sustainable. Now in this video, I want to do something different. I want to share with you 5 habits that I believe are seriously underrated and that deserve your attention if your goal is to get leaner and lose body fat. So my recommendation is that you implement one or multiple of these as a part of your routine because they will help you get to your goal. Now, starting with the first habit, which has finally gotten some acknowledgement in recent years, and that is walking. The beauty of walking more is that anybody can do it and it can be done anywhere. You don't need any special equipment and you can easily get started. When it comes to the amount, my recommendation is to slowly build up to a point where you're getting 10 to 12,000 steps per day. Now you can go higher than that if you want to, but that's the amount where I would say most people are going to notice a significant positive impact in their results. Now, even though more people know about benefits of walking, it's still pretty rare to see someone with a habit of consistently getting 10,000 steps per day or more. And I'm not saying 10K steps per day is some kind of magic number. There's no such thing. If you're sedentary and less active in general, you're getting benefits from every little bit of extra walking that you do. And when I did some calculations for myself, at 190 pounds, which is about 85 kg, I burned around 350 calories extra per day by doing those 10,000 steps. And I find this amount makes it much easier for me to stick with a calorie deficit. And to get that many steps within a day, I find the key to consistency to be to make it as convenient as possible. And here's a couple tips that work really well. Do your meetings and phone calls while walking, especially the ones where you're just listening. Add a 10-minute walk to your morning routine. Listen to an audiobook at the same time to start the day on a positive note instead of getting into news and some drama. Take a walk during the lunch break, especially once you already had lunch. It's a great way to maintain your energy levels. And then you can do a walk in the evening after dinner, invite a loved one, and make it a social activity. And then in the gym, you can do a 10-minute walk as a part of your warm-up. You can walk between the sets while you're doing your workout, and then another quick walk at the end of your workout. All these are very easy ways to get a bit more steps. And overall, you should be looking for more opportunities where you can be more active, such as taking the stairs or just parking your car a little bit further away. And by the way, if it gets really cold outside where you're at and the winters are really tough and that's getting in the way of your activity levels, well, in that case, consider getting a walking pad. It's a game changer. It's one of the best investments you can make. Now, the second habit that is highly underrated when it comes to fat loss is eating the same meals most of the time. Nearly every single person that I know that has consistently gotten lean and pushed the boundaries of their physique has used this approach. Some eat the same first meal of the day and in some cases have done so for years. Others eat the same meals about 90% of the week and then have that 10% open for some indulgences and to mix things up. I would say that as long as you have enough variety within a week and as long as your diet is very high quality to avoid micronutrient deficiencies, there's nothing wrong with repeating that. My own diet is about 80% the same week to week. I have a template, have a good system, and as long as you enjoy your diet and as long as you're hitting all your goals and you don't mind repeating it, just go for it. And then this habit combined with some basic meal prepping can really put your diet on autopilot. It saves so much time and effort. It's no wonder why so many athletes and people have done this successfully. It's a time-tested method. And I do understand there's a learning component and also it does require some work up front. So if you've never done any kind of meal prepping in the past, I would suggest that you start with something really simple, such as preparing enough protein to last you for 2 to 3 days. Give it a try. You'll be surprised with how much easier the diet can get. Now, the third habit, which is a small change but can have a really big impact on your consistency, is saving your calories for your quote-unquote hunger window. Let's say your goal is to eat 2,000 calories per day, which is going to put you in a deficit to lose 1 pound or half a kilo of fat per week. Now, how you distribute those 2,000 calories per day can make a really big difference. If you're more hungry in the evening, you want to make sure you allocate more of your calories there. I personally like to split my calories into 3 meals with a ratio of 25, 25, 50. So 25% of those calories go into meal 1, 25% for meal 2, and then 50% for meal 3. So dinner is the biggest meal of the day. This helps me with evening cravings, but also it's the meal when I'm mostly eating with other people, so I prefer to be less restricted. Now, during the day, I don't mind the small meals. I'm busy, I'm working, I'm occupied, I'm not thinking about food, so it's much easier to stick to. So the bottom line is you want to make sure you're saving your calories for when you need them the most. Now, the fourth habit, which is more of a rule that I like to follow, and that is feasting, not snacking. The one thing that I see consistently hold people back from seeing results is reactive snacking. People will just go through the day, they're gonna randomly be grabbing stuff based on impulses, based on triggers, based on the fact that it's available. They're never really gonna be stuffed and full to a point where they know they need to stop, but they're also never really hungry. So they're kind of in that in-between zone where they're just eating and eating. And if you ever tracked your calories, you know how quickly those snacks can add up. Suddenly you're no longer in a deficit, and in fact, you can quickly enter a calorie surplus and gain weight. And realistically with snacking, there are only two viable options. One is elimination, which I would highly recommend just to stick with your meals and just to have bigger meals in general. Or two is being very proactive and planned out. And if you take option two, that means you allocate about 5-10% of your calories to snacks, and then you plan them out. And ideally, you would have things like fresh fruits, maybe bone broth, maybe some protein, things that will actually fill you up. Because the biggest challenge when dieting is hunger. Anything you can do to feel less hungry will help you be more consistent. So next time you're about to grab a random snack, ask yourself, am I bored or stressed, or am I actually hungry? Because maybe all you need is a glass of water or tea or just a protein shake, or to find something else to occupy your mind, and then the feeling is gonna go away. It's much easier to prevent those 400 or 500 calories from coming in rather than trying to burn them off later. Now, a couple of other underrated tips for snacking and cravings is to remove those trigger foods entirely from your home, or at least put them in a place where it's much more inconvenient to get to. Even that little barrier that you've just added, that extra friction that has you thinking for an extra few seconds, is enough often to prevent the moment of mindless snacking, to regain that control, to remind yourself of the goal, and simply go back to your plan. Now, the fifth change that we need to talk about, and one that I would highly recommend, is cutting out alcohol. Getting rid of alcohol from my life about 10 years ago was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. It's literally improved every single area of my life, especially my discipline and my ability to be consistent with nutrition. I remember back then I would be going out twice per week. I would have 2-3 drinks, then a random drink here or there whenever there was a game. It's all very subtle. Now looking back, I realized that 2-3 days out of the week, I wasn't thinking very clearly because of drinking. 2-3 days is 30-40% of the whole week. That's 30-40% of my life at the time that I wasn't thinking straight. This led to a lot of bad decisions with food, general laziness, and just being in a really bad mood. So before you blame yourself for a lack of motivation, same as I did, check your drinking habits. Maybe it's the alcohol that you need to get rid of. And when it comes to fat loss, the math also simply doesn't add up. Let's say your goal is to eat 2,000 calories per day to create a 3,500 calorie deficit per week to lose a pound or half a kilo of body fat. And let's say you have 6 drinks per week. Each drink is 150 calories on average, so that's a total of 900 calories. That's 25% of your calorie deficit gone. So you're losing fat 25% slower. Or you have the other option where you can try to incorporate the alcohol into your budget, which means that it's no longer 2,000 calories per day, but it's closer to 1,850. That will make the diet harder, and you will be increasing your hunger levels because you get less food to eat. And that doesn't even account for the negative downstream effects of alcohol, which often leads to very bad eating decisions. And just one instance like that can wipe out 1 week or even multiple weeks of progress. By removing alcohol, you're simplifying the whole process and making fat loss a lot easier. And there's just one less thing to worry about, and you want to take any advantage you can get. This journey of getting to a low body fat percentage is already hard enough. There's no need to make it even harder. And look, if you combine all the 5 things that I mentioned, that's a lot of change. And sometimes we can go all out and change many things at once. And if that works for you, great. But if you already tried the whole revamp approach and it didn't work out, I suggest you focus on making one sustainable change at a time. Pick one of these 5 to start off with, and once you're consistent, then add the next one. Don't fall for the trap where you're trying to rush the process. This is not a competition for who can create a healthier lifestyle faster. Remember, the way you get to the goal and whether it's sustainable is far more important than how fast you got there. And the other thing to remember is making sure you hit that subscribe button below, name notifications by hitting the bell icon. Details for coaching if you want to work with me are in the description below. Leaving another helpful video here for you at the end that covers more eating habits. So check out that video, and I'm gonna see you right there.